Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics, and I am super excited to bring you another video in the Simple Fish Keeping series. In this series, we have brought together dozens of YouTubers that have amassed millions of followers, have kept thousands of tanks, and bred tens of thousands of fish. They're going to be sharing with you their expertise. In today's video, we are going to be looking at what is the best fish for a beginner. But even if you're not a beginner, trust me, you're going to want to stick around and see all of the cool fish suggestions. Now, if you want to see more from the YouTubers that are participating in this video, check out the description below. I have all their channel links. Big thank you to everybody who participated. Hope you enjoy the video. Appreciate you being here.
I think the best beginner fish with no close second is the white clawed mountain minnow, like the ones I have in this tank. These tiny fish are extremely beautiful and have big personalities. Not only that, but they're inexpensive and very hardy, accepting a wide range of conditions. That means they can easily handle the less than favorable conditions a new fish keeper may initially provide.
What fish would I pick for a beginner? Guess. Guys, I'm a little bit obsessed with betta fish or betta fish, and they're seriously like one of the best beginner fish you can possibly choose. They're colorful, they're personable. They have, like, they're small, right? They're just small fish, but they have they have an interesting personality. I think they're a really great beginner fish for all those reasons, and for getting somebody into the hobby, what's a better fish than that?
What fish would I pick for a beginner? So this is going to be a double-edged sword. A lot of the times when it comes to beginner fish, or for people just getting new into the hobby, they battle with one specific thing, and that is the nitrogen cycle. So you kind of want to stay away from fish that have long flowy fins. They're susceptible to fin rot and that sort of thing, but at the same time, labyrinth fish have a specific type of organ or a modified organ behind their head that allows them to gulp oxygen from the surface. Essentially going around that poor water quality that you're going to have until you literally learn the nitrogen cycle. So in my opinion, a labyrinth fish of some type, whether it's a betta or a gourami, paradise fish, there's a ton of different types, not the giant gourami, that is not a beginner's fish. But I like to go with the labyrinth fish, especially because they stay relatively small, but also because their survivability rate is typically higher than a fish that doesn't have that organ behind their head, that labyrinth organ that allows them to gulp oxygen as opposed to get slowly poisoned by the ammonia that's inevitably going to be in a new beginner's tank. Downside is they do have long flowy fins and they're susceptible to fin rot, but that's typically what I would recommend.
So for me, I'm going to be a bit boring here, but for good reason. Neon Tetra, first of all, they are pretty hardy. I mean, like, you have to get something quite drastically wrong to kill them. And the reason I say that means when you're a beginner, you do make mistakes. I mean, I still make mistakes now, but when you're a beginner, you make even more, and your water can be off for a little while and you won't have a catastrophe. Hopefully you're going to spot it before that point. But also, not just that, it's like they look amazing, don't they? Neon Tetras. It's the sort of fish that draws everyone into the hobby. And also, if you've got those in a tank at home and it's sort of in your living room or something like that, it's going to be a really cool focal point and conversation starter, that kind of thing, because everyone loves Neon Tetras. Even people who aren't fish people, weird fish people like us, normal people, even they love Neon Tetras. After that, you know, you can move on to other different things. I mean, eventually I'd go for cardinal tetras. They cost a little bit more, but you know, they look even better than the neons. And they also school a lot better as well, I've found. And then after that, the sky's the limit, of course.
What fish would I pick for beginners? It's the biggest no-brainer of all time. It's the freshwater angelfish, and there's a lot of reasons why. First, they are super easy to keep, and they can tolerate a lot of the mistakes that newer fish keepers are gonna make. Yes, I said gonna make. It's only a matter of time. While you're learning how water chemistry works and learning how your equipment works, you're gonna make mistakes, and a lot of times angels can make it through those rather than just dropping like flies like a lot of other community fish will. Now, these are not community fish, they're cichlids, but they can mix in with community fish, which is another reason why these are great. You can put them with all different types of fish and they'll usually tolerate them and not bully them, but they are cichlids, so you never really know. It's kind of a roll of the dice, especially if they find a partner and they want to breed. They can get downright nasty. But if you don't have any of that going on, they do really well with most community fish. They're show-stoppingly gorgeous, Your friends will notice them from all the way across the room and say, "What's that? That's not like any other fish I've ever seen." It's a conversation starter, so you have to love that. So you put it all together. They are easy to keep, easy to breed if you want to do that. They get along with other fish, usually, not 100% of the time, but most of the time they will, and they are absolutely gorgeous. And there's one more thing. You don't have to have a gigantic aquarium like this one behind me. Minimum 29 gallons, and you're gonna be fine. I don't care what anybody else says. You need at least 29 gallons for these fish, so you don't have to have something that's as big as your entire room to keep these angels. So yeah, there you go. For all of those reasons, these are the perfect fish for
I think everybody knows what fish I'm going to say is a great beginner fish. Of course, I'm gonna say the betta fish. And the reason why is because these little fish can basically live in almost any condition. Now, do I think that it's okay that they live in any condition? Absolutely not. Betta fish should live in an aquarium that is, I like to say 5 gallons or a little larger. You don't have to go to the extreme. But the important thing is they do need some kind of filtration. They do need a heater if you live in a climate that is cooler or whatever. If you live somewhere where it's always hot all day long and you keep your house hot, that's kind of a different story. But I do like to say filtration and a heater is #1, including the appropriate tank size. But as far as being a beginner fish, they are very hardy little fish. They tolerate so much abuse, and it's sad. I don't think they should. They should be treated just like all the other fish that are out there in the hobby, and they should get so much love and attention. But I definitely think they're amazing beginner fish.
Josh.
Yeah.
Jason asked us a question he'd like an answer for.
All right, let's hear it.
What is your recommendation for the best beginner fish people should start with, or beginner monster fish maybe, or just an all-around good hardy beginner fish?
Alrighty, so since we are, monster fish keepers, I don't want to go with something that's, nano size. I want to go with something that is true to us, that we deal with all the time. So I'm going to crawl off this pond real quick, and we're going to go show you. We come over here to the 2200. So right here, favorite beginner monster fish, well not monster, but right here is your Oscar. This is Oscar de la Hoya. I picked these because they
Wait. What was his name?
Oscar de la Hoya.
Hi, Oscar.
And I chose this because, you know what? Oscars are readily available. They are so easy to care for.
Very cheap.
And, you can either keep them in a smaller tank. Now, I say small, like a 75 to a 150. But these guys can get absolutely monstrous sizes. We have one over there that's over 16¼ inches long. That is large for an Oscar. So you can keep them in a smaller tank, or you can keep them in a group of community with monsters, as we do here, and they live just fine. So you can keep them in a wide variety of, water parameters, and these guys are tough as nails, so I think they are a perfect beginner fish. And we chose monster fish, so there goes my recommendation.
If I could recommend one fish for a beginner, it would be a betta fish. They're easy to care for, you don't need a huge tank, you can get away with a 10-gallon, which is easy to find a spot in your home. They're affordable, they're colorful, and they have great personalities. Every single betta fish that I've had has had a unique personality, and I've really enjoyed caring.
Best beginner fish for you as hobbyist, somebody just getting in here, a beginner, something like that. I'm gonna go with the fish that really got me sucked in this hobby, and that is a molly. So it doesn't have to be a molly, it can be any live bear, but for me, it was balloon mollies and mollies. And the reason I chose those is because they're so much fun. There's something about getting fish that you think are cute. Next thing you know, they're breeding, there's babies throughout your tank. You're buying new tanks to set up so that you can keep the babies alive. You're adding plants to your tank to make sure that the babies don't get eaten, adding places for cover. And for me, that just really got me into this hobby. And so I would encourage other people to try them out as well, especially if they're new to the hobby, because they're fairly easy to keep. And it's also super exciting when you get those babies. Now, you guys know me. I'm a shrimp guy. I love shrimp. So if I could, I would pick a certain shrimp like a mono shrimp or cherry shrimp. But for today, for the purpose of this video, we're going to stick with mollies.
So the fish that I would recommend for a beginner would actually be a guppy. I really love guppies. They're pretty easy to keep and there's so many beautiful varieties out there, and the best part is they breed very easily. So you can not only start your very own colony, you can get into breeding fish, which is kind of fun on a really easy way. You can sell some fish back either to your local fish club or your local pet store. I think they're really great beginner fish, super accessible in so many different places, and I feel like guppies nowadays don't get enough love.
What fish would you pick for a beginner? So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that you are a beginner and you're gonna start with one fish. For me, I'm probably gonna say like an easier tetra species. I hate to go with the default rummy nose tetra, but that's a fish that you can put quite a few of them in something like a 40 breeder, or like a 55, or maybe whatever typical size fish tank that you might end up with as a beginner. And I just think that they're a cool fish. They have really good shoaling activity. They're a fish that are gonna school more so than not if you get enough of them. And so yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
What fish would I pick for a beginner? And it would have to still be the first fish that I chose as a kid when I was a beginner, and that's the guppy fish. They're easy to keep, they're hardy, they can breed very easily. If you want to see baby fry, you can keep them all males or all females if you don't wish to breed them. They come in all different colors, they're so beautiful. They do well in a really nice planted community tank. They also do really well in a smaller tank. And with a trio, you can keep them with shrimp and plecos. You can just keep them in so many different ways that I would have to say guppy fish is a really good way to go if you're a beginner.
So those of you that know me are going to be a little bit surprised with my answer here. But if I had to pick one fish to recommend for a beginner, would actually be tetras. I know some of you were thinking guppies, but it's going to be tetras. The reason for that is they're typically fairly hardy when found in box stores and local fish stores. Not only that, but there's a very large variety. They come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors, different attitudes and personalities. I do recommend that whatever type you go with, you get a decent group of them so that they're not by themselves. The other thing is they typically come at a reasonable price point. For just a few dollars, you can get a tetra, whereas some other fish you may be looking at $10, $20, $30. It's a great price point fish, they're fairly hardy, and it's easy to come by all shapes and sizes. And that's why tetras are the way to go.
Cracking YouTube. It's me, the Bizz, Fishy Bizz Aquatics, professional aquatics with the amateur touch, so amateurs, yep. So you want the Bizz to recommend a beginner fish. Well, I know people are gonna say goldfish and bettas and platies and mollies, oh my. But not for me, I need a little bit bigger fish. I'm gonna recommend African cichlid. And you can go peacocks and boonas, you can even do convicts. What you're getting is a hardy fish. You're also getting a fish that is prolific in breeding and just extremely resilient. These fish, they come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. So you can get a beautiful tank. Speaking of tank, it forces you to get a bigger tank. So when you get smaller fish, you tend to get a smaller tank. Those small tanks, the parameters tend to go off whack a lot quicker and more often than when you get a bigger tank. So you can start off with a 40-gallon with your African cichlids, and those parameters, even though they may get skewed, you'll have a hardy enough fish to deal with the ups and downs. African cichlids. I had the best luck with them. Not so much with the smaller fish. I'm actually jumping back on African cichlids, beginner fish, from me to you. So go do your research, see what's out there, grab you some, get some different colors, get them in the tank, work with those parameters, and watch those fish work with you. You'll love them.
Hi, I'm Joanna with the Small Scape. What is my favorite beginner fish? Has to be the betta. I know a lot of people will, I would hope, certainly that they will pick this fish because it is such a great beginner fish. Not only will it wrangle you into the hobby, but it's a great fish for small tanks, medium-sized nano tanks, really any kind of tank size, anywhere from a 5-gallon to a 20-gallon. It'll fit in perfectly, has a great personality. You can get them in different colors, and you can pick them out really anywhere. They come in any kind of fish stores, fish shows. You can get them anywhere, and they're great little fish buddies.
Thanks for having me on here. Hope you all are doing well. I'm LRB. Some of you guys may know me as a aquarium hoarder, LRB Aquatics. Question that I was asked is, what fish would I recommend to a beginner and why? So when it comes to that, it's hard to just recommend just one fish, because that's almost like asking me what my favorite fish is. There's so many out there, how could you even pick a favorite? Same thing with the beginner fish. It could be danios, rainbows, tetras. It could be quite a few different types of fish. But what I'd like to offer instead is a perspective when choosing your first fish. And even if you're just a beginner, because it may not be your first fish, you may still be in that beginning phase where you're trying multiple fish. You may have got the danios already. But if you're already watching this video before you even bought any fish, you're already winning. So the best thing to do when it comes to thinking about beginner fish or starting out with fish is just knowing your water. If you know your water, then you know best of what you can keep your fish and which fish to get for you. Because it's not really about the fish as far as the beginner or novice or expert to keeping what. It's knowing your water truly. And if you know your water, then you can really keep any fish out there. So if you understand your water, and then you can pretty much keep any fish. So if I did have to just say a fish that I had to pick for you guys, it's impossible, because I could not pick from rainbows, I could not pick from tetras, I can't pick from, I mean, even like the dwarf cichlids. Some of you guys have soft water. That may be the best from you. Maybe you guys with real hard water, you guys like endlers and guppies, that could be all full game for you on that track. So it all really depends. And sorry I couldn't give a straight just one fish, but hopefully this perspective will help some of you guys to learn about your water, whether you have that hard or soft water, which I love to use a TDS meter to figure out if I have that. It's pretty easy. GH, KH tests are great as well, because it tells you pretty much what's in that TDS number. And a TDS meter, cheap, $10, $15, must have for aquarium keeper, and anything under 200 on that is considered soft. Anything above that is considered hard water, and in between is neutral, which is where a lot of fish will be fine and thrive with. So check out your water and figure that out, and that will help you from being a beginner, and hopefully no longer will you think of yourself as a beginner. And you can go on to any fish you want. And thanks for having me.
Hello there, it's Mike from the Fish Tank Barn, and let's talk about my favorite beginner fish, the Sunset Variatus platy. This fish has a lot of qualities that make it an absolutely great beginner fish. Its bright orange coloration is absolutely show-stopping, and these fish almost look like they're on fire. This species is extremely hardy and is very tolerant of many of the mistakes that new fish keepers make. And being live bearers, these fish are extremely easy to breed. Finding fry in your aquarium for the first time is one of the most magical moments in the aquarium hobby, and has been the quintessential moment that has driven many fish keepers to dive deeper and deeper into the aquarium hobby. These fish are not very aggressive and make excellent tank mates for a wide variety of community aquarium fish. So if you're looking for an inexpensive, beautiful, and fun beginner fish, then the Sunset Variatus platy is for you.
There were so many good suggestions as to what is the best beginner fish, or just some really cool fish in general. If I was going to go with a beginner fish, I know this is going to be a very common selection. One that wasn't mentioned in the video, I like the platies. I just think that they are great fish for a number of reasons. They're hardy, they're readily available, they don't cost a lot of money, and you get so many different color varieties. They're not going to be aggressive in your tank. You might see them breed a little bit. They give you a little bit of activity. They inhabit the entire tank. You'll see them at the top, in the middle, and the bottom. They'll be picking through plants and rocks and substrate looking for food. They add a lot of visual interest to the tank. They have a lot of color. Certainly something you should check out whether you're a beginner or an experienced fish keeper. We usually try to have some types of platies in our fish room at all times. Again, if you want to see more of the Simple Fish Keeping series, check out the videos in the upper and lower right-hand corner, as well as the description below. If you want to see more from the creators featured in this video, check out the description below. Appreciate you being here, and we'll see you in the next one.